Now for a look at the day's top business news with Brian Quinn. Hi there, Brian.
Catherine.
And we're starting off with the latest on price pressures in the US. So inflation is back. The question is, I guess, is it here to stay?
This is what everyone has been worried about. Now, the U.S. Commerce Department has just reported the country's personal consumption price index for this past May. The 3.9% jump in consumer prices marks the biggest year-to-year rise since 1992. Well, most of that gain came from energy prices, which were up a massive 27.4% amid a cyber attack. That one shut down the East Coast's main gas pipeline. Well, with just a $2.9 billion gain, personal spending was essentially flat, while personal income, though, actually fell by 2% as the government begins winding down stimulus payments. Investors have been watching U.S. inflation very closely for signs that the Federal Reserve may soon raise interest rates. The International Monetary Fund, though, says recent price spikes are most likely temporary as the economy recovers from the pandemic in fits and starts. Take a listen.
The spike in inflationary pressures that we have seen reflects transitory supply-demand mismatches, temporary input shortages, and largely one-off shifts, including commodity price increases coming off the very low base of last year.
Well, turning now to the day's trading action, that big inflation number failing to rattle the markets as Wall Street analysts were more or less expecting it. S&P 500 hitting a new record as it heads for its best week since April. Investors are taking heart from the Fed's conclusion that the U.S. banking industry could indeed withstand even a severe recession, along with the latest $1.2 trillion infrastructure compromise between Joe Biden and Republican senators. Nike shares jumping nearly 15% after a blockbuster earnings report. The Dow is up around 0.7%. The NASDAQ, though, dipping below the flat line around midday in New York. European indexes ending the week mixed as investors worry that central banks here could soon wind down their stimulus programs. London ending the day up around 0.33%. Paris and Frankfurt on either side of the flat line at the close. The next Friday's meeting of European Union leaders in Brussels failed to gain approval for an EU summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin. That's a setback for both France and Germany. Berlin is a strong backer of the controversial Nord Stream 2 pipeline that should soon begin sending Russian natural gas to Europe. Paris, meanwhile, wants to end a sanctions battle with Moscow over issues like the poisoning of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. A European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says that as relations remain tense, the bloc has a key advantage over Russia, and that is its massive trade imbalance. Here she is.
Russia represents less than 5% of goods that are being imported to the European Union. But if you look at the reverse import, the European Union is Russia's biggest trade partner, and we account for more than 37% of the import to Russia.
And British regulators have opened an investigation into Amazon and Google to see if the U.S. tech giants are respecting British consumer protection laws. At issue, whether the firms are doing enough to detect fake and misleading reviews, including cases in which reviewers receive payment or other incentives for positive reviews. The Competition and Markets Authority also says it's examining whether the two are doing enough to promptly remove fake reviews and penalize offenders. And finally, for business here in France, music lovers are rejoicing after the recent announcement that indoor standing concerts will be allowed to resume starting next Wednesday. Dance nightclubs set to reopen on July 9th after nearly a year and a half of closure. But as the sector tunes up for a revival, plenty of questions remain. Mario Sofas takes a closer look.
Paris-based Australian singer Melissa is taking the rough with the smooth. As live music kicks off again in France, she's been booked for many dates, yet cafe and restaurant owners, squeezed by the pandemic as well, are only willing to pay her a meagre two-digit fee.
I think we're all really tired of having to accept something that's less than what we had before. And we understand that obviously it was a struggle for all these establishments too, and they want to maintain a healthy live music culture. But I think it's going to take some time to get back to where we were.
Live music venues and nightclubs have been closed since the beginning of the pandemic, some 15 months ago. Before the crisis, France had 1,600 nightclubs with 30,000 direct employees. 152 of them are now closed for good. 25% of those remaining say they won't be able to comply with health protocols due to their ventilation systems. Festivals are coming back for the summer, but the French music industry's top advocacy organisation, the CNM, says it's not going to be smooth sailing from here on out. Ticket sales are sluggish because of the confusion about vaccine and testing health certificates, along with the fact that many top concerts have already been rescheduled for 2022. In 2020, the CNM distributed €97 million in aid, while so far in 2021 it's distributed €60 million. Government support for the arts and culture sector totals around €5 billion.
Really looking forward to those concerts coming back. I hope they don't get shut down again, actually.
Well, I was going to say, I hope people enjoy it while they can here.
Indeed.
France. Thank you very much indeed, Brian, with the business news there. That was Brian Quinn. It's time